we go. Enter, rejoice, and silence your cell phones. Here's the reminder. Here's the reminder to release ourselves. Good morning, welcome. So, we're about to greet each other, but I learned that when our youngest members go upstairs to Kids Connection, when it's time to be greeted, they have some options listed for them. So on the door, they see this. You get to choose your morning greeting. Would you like a hug? Would you like a high five? Would you like a handshake? Would you like a heart? What a thought to choose how you want to be greeted. So I'm going to invite us to say hello to the people around us, but today I invite you to say how you want to be said hello to. Maybe it's a handshake, maybe it's a hug, maybe it's a high five, and make sure the other person is open to that possibility. So with that, I invite you to make sure everyone around you is welcomed well. Our land acknowledgement this morning is offered by Briar Broadbent. Welcome up, Briar.
With this basket of black oak acorns, we express our heartfelt desire that the Nisenan people may recover more and more of their rich cultural heritage. We commit to support them in this way and other efforts in whatever ways we can, under their guidance and at their request.
Children who are here today are invited to come stand right here, and Lindsay will come into the hallway. So we're going to say our child sliding poem that you know about, and Lindsay will guide you in the hand movements. Okay? Are you going to stand over here, Corbin? It's a choice. Your choice. You can face forward, turn around and face forward. Ozzy. Okay. Okay. Today we're going to share with you the chalice lighting poem we say upstairs in Kids Connection for our chalice lighting ritual. We will read it twice. First, the children, Lindsay and I, will read the poem, demonstrating for you the hand movements that accompany each line of the poem. Then we will all read the poem together, and you can participate by moving your hands along with us. Okay? We light this chalice because we are Unitarian Universalists. We are the Church of the Open Mind. We are the Church of the Loving Heart. We are the Church of the Helping Hands. And together we care for each other and bring peace and justice into the world. Okay, now we're going to invite you to speak with us and follow the hand movements. I'm going to go down here a minute. We light this chalice because we are Unitarian Universalists. We are the Church of the Open Mind. We are the Church of the Loving Heart. We are the Church of the Helping Hands. And together we care for our earth and bring peace and justice into the world. Now we're going to sing the children upstairs. The time has come to sing our children on their way upstairs as they carry with them the light and love of this community in the form of a flame from our chalice.
Good morning. I'm Carol Nimick, the worship associate for today's service, and I warmly welcome each of you who are here in this room and those of you that are on Zoom. I'm trusting you're all doing well these summer days. I question whether the word days should be spelled D-A-Y-S or D-A-Z-E. For me, I prefer the D-A-Z-E spelling, as the intensity of the heat and the light of the summer sun pulls me to the river for a swim, the lake for a paddle, the mountains for a hike, or the road for a trip. It's tough for me to remain focused in myself and my presence. Amongst the summer happenings is the fair this week. One reason I enjoy the fair is that it's bustling with families. There are activities for all ages. Though I'm in my 70s, I realize the child within me is delighted watching the younger children show their animals, throw the bean bag into the clown's mouth, swirl on a roundabout ride. I find my own inner child of age 8, 10, 12 alive and enthralled at the fair. Can this inner child be distinguished from the child of decades ago? I'm looking forward to this service with Cheryl Spaulding, the head of our family ministry, sharing how the children upstairs in Kids Connection are thriving as the children, our inner children in this room, are also thriving. May we all bring our interaction, growth, and learning together, and may the energy and enthusiasm and exchange freely flow up and down the steps. Welcome and thank you for bringing all parts of yourself to this service.
Aloha. As it says on the screen there, our opening words were adapted by Pat Hordorfer from an excerpt of a speech by Reverend Dr. Patrick T. O'Neill. Among the most accomplished and fabled tribes of Africa, no tribe was considered to have warriors more fearsome or more intelligent than the mighty Maasai of Kenya and Tanzania. It is perhaps surprising then to learn the traditional greeting that passed between Maasai warriors, and that was Kaserian Injera. One would always say to another, it means, and how are the children? It is still the traditional greeting among the Maasai, acknowledging the high value that the Maasai always place on their children's well-being. Even warriors with no children of their own would always give the traditional answer, all the children are well, meaning, of course, that peace and safety prevail, that the priorities of protecting the young and the powerless are in place. that Maasai society has not forgotten its reasons for being, its proper functions and responsibilities. All the children are well means that life is good. It means that the daily struggles of existence do not preclude proper caring for their young. I wonder how it might affect our consciousness of our own children's welfare if in our culture we took to greeting each other with this daily question, and how are the children?
And how are the children? Maybe for some of us, that's that child within that we've been working with. Those experiences from very early in life that continue to shape us and our behaviors despite our best mental efforts. So we take time in the service each Sunday to honor our joys, our sorrows, our concerns, the things that we're carrying in our heart. And as always, I invite you to take a moment to pay attention to what that is right now. Sometimes it surprises me when I stop and really am very present to myself what surfaces. I didn't realize that was quite so present in me until that moment. So I invite you to let your body unwind and be still and calm, and to listen within for what's hurting, what's rejoicing, who's there that you're caring about, what's going on that matters, so we can honor that together in a moment. First, I invite you to listen within. If you find yourself listening inside your head, I invite you to consider dropping down and listening inside your heart, really literally in your chest. What's stirring there? And maybe dropping down even farther to that gut that so reliably knows what's going on, even when we're not quite aware. Listen there. And if you were to take in your entire body, listening throughout your entire body and maybe even beyond, what do you notice? What do you hear? What do you feel? What's present in all of you? In the quiet and the music, I invite you to stay there, to hold that, to, as is your practice, to find your center, to find your stillness, to surface your prayers, to hold each other. As some people will come forward and take a stone representing all that's present and placing it in the bowl of water, symbol of this community and all that holds us. As people on Zoom type into the chat some piece of what they're carrying, or type a 0 or an O, an electronic stone of sorts, to mark the something that is not named in this moment. Invite us to enter this time with thoughtfulness and a sense of ourselves and each other. A colleague of mine, Alex Hayter-Winnett, is a young father, 2 very young children, Unitarian Universalist minister who serves as a chaplain in a care facility. He shared recently a prayer that he offers every Sunday as that group meets at the care facility. And Unitarian Universalist ministers are well poised to serve in places where there's a wide range of religious beliefs and ideas, so often chaplains. So I offer this prayer that Alex offers to link us to that community gathering and others. I invite you into a spirit of introspection, a spirit of contemplation, a spirit of prayer. Spirit of love, of life, of justice. You who go by many names, but are commonly known as God. We give thanks for this time to be together, to celebrate, to love, to grieve, and to care with one another. We give thanks for the turning of the earth, the sun and the air, the rain and land. We pray for all those who are struggling with health and wellness. May they be comfortable. May their caregivers work with wisdom, compassion, and patience. We pray for the justice seekers and the peacemakers, for those who know that another world is not only possible, it is on its way. May their victories be swift and just. May we all feel the sweetness of liberation. We pray for the young and the old alike, those who have accompanied us on our journey and those who have already passed along. We apologize for all the times we have fallen short, when we do not live up to our own highest ideals, when we are needy and greedy, and when our egos loom large. We apologize for the times we have forgotten that we are your beloved children. We give thanks for the grace and the mercy we receive every day, for the forgiveness we receive even when we feel unworthy, for the love we receive even when we feel unlovable. We give thanks for the forgiveness we receive from each other, from ourselves, and from you. For these things we say amen, ashe, and blessed be. I invite you to sing this song together. If it's new to you, it's number 1012 in the teal hymn books on the chairs. 1012. So when I am frightened, will you reassure me? I invite you to rise in body or in spirit and to sing.
Good morning. Education is not preparation for life. Education is life itself. This quote is one of my favorite quotes from one of my favorite philosophers, John Dewey. John Dewey was an American philosopher known for his contributions to the progressive movement in the early decades of the 20th century. While his progressive influence was felt throughout all aspects of American culture and life, in no sphere was it felt more keenly than it was in the field of education. Dewey was not officially a Unitarian, nor a Universalist, but he was a close friend of the Unitarian movement. His public memorial service in 1952 was held at a church with a long distinguished Unitarian heritage, the Community Church of New York. Two notable Unitarians spoke at that service. So I think we might count John Dewey as an honorary UU. I will return to John Dewey and this quote shortly to help me frame a description of the Kids Connection program that occurs upstairs each Sunday morning here at UUCM. But first, I want you to know that I am beyond excited about this opportunity to share with you what is happening upstairs on Sunday morning. I must begin by acknowledging the year-long collaboration between me, Lindsay, Linda, Corey, Jenny, and Shannon that gave rise to this redesigned Kids Connection program. For me, this collaborative process with my beloved peers and the opportunity to develop connections with the children of UUCM have been life-affirming, healing, and transformational. And I am so deeply grateful for them and for that. Now, on to the program description. At approximately 10:45 each Sunday morning, Lindsay or I, along with one of our assistants, leave this sanctuary with the children, carrying with us the light and love of this community as symbolized in a flame lit from this chalice. We head upstairs to engage with the children in ways very similar to the ways that you all engage with each other when you are here, downstairs, in this sanctuary and in the adjoining rooms. Today, I want to highlight the similarities between what you all do with and for each other downstairs and what we do with and for each other upstairs. So, toward this end, let me now circle back to our Dewey quote. Education is not preparation for life. Education is life itself. I want to suggest that what happens downstairs and what happens upstairs at UUCM are examples of how education is life itself. According to Dewey, the essence of education is life experiences that give rise to growth, development, and connection, or in the language of our new UU values, that promote transformation. For Dewey, the word experience is a critical feature of his philosophy of education. He saw education as being grounded in experiences, not in mere activities. I like to think of this distinction between experiences and activities in this way. Educational experiences are activities that have become purposeful and meaningful to the participants. Another way to think about it is activities keep us busy, but experiences transform us. I also think of activities and experiences as existing along a continuum, with activities on the left, I guess the left is you over here, and experiences on the right. This continuum concept captures the idea that events can start out as less meaningful, more transactional activities, and transform into more purposeful, more relational experiences. Clearly, by this definition, educational experiences are happening downstairs at UUCM, and I assure you they are also happening upstairs at UUCM. Before we delve into some of the educational and transformational experiences happening upstairs, I want to describe the physical layout of our spaces up there. It was inspired by your spaces down here. Like you, we have a small foyer at the top of the stairs where children are greeted before they step into a room we call our sanctuary. In addition, we have a suite of adjoining rooms, including a full kitchen, just as you do, These rooms provide the spaces where we work, play, and socialize together, just as you work, play, and socialize with each other in your suite of rooms downstairs. Now, let me make this more concrete for you. As the children enter our foyer at the top of the stairs, they stop at the door to our sanctuary to be greeted by one of the grown-ups. The children are presented with a choice about how they would like to be greeted, with a hug, a high five, a handshake, or a heart. Let me share a vignette with you that shows how an activity like this greeting routine sometimes transforms into an experience for both the children and the grown-up greeter. This is a story about Ruby and Corbin. So one day, we were headed upstairs. Ruby was in the lead, Corbin behind, and we stopped at the door to our sanctuary. And the door was slightly ajar. And I said to Ruby, "Ruby, how would you like to be greeted today? With a hug, a high five, a handshake, or a heart?" And she was very quick to say she wanted a hug. So I opened my arms up wide to give her a hug, and she opened her arms up wide, and she turned around and gave Corbin the biggest hug you could possibly imagine. And Corbin hugged her back with the same degree of enthusiasm, and with their arms still around each other, they pushed through that sanctuary door and tumbled into our sanctuary. The first thought I had was, I think I just experienced greeter bypass. And the feeling that I had in that moment, the word that best captures it is I felt bereft. I felt like I wanted that hug. It didn't take me long to recover, though. And what helped me recover was I thought to all of the greetings that I have witnessed happen in this foyer down here over the 18 months that I've been standing there waiting for kids to show up so that I could greet them. And I realized that while there was a certain foundational structure that we used downstairs, there were designated greeters ready to greet anyone who wanted to be greeted. The actual process was much more organic and fluid and flexible than the one I had been implementing upstairs. People didn't wait for the greeter to be there. I mean, newcomers greeted newcomers, greeters greeted greeters. There's greeting going on in all directions. And I had not built that kind of flexibility into the pattern upstairs. And Ruby told me through her behavior that she didn't want to be greeted today. She wanted to be the greeter. And that hadn't been built into our routine. That's an example of an activity becoming an experience. For Ruby, she took a process that she had experienced many, many times and had internalized, and she basically said, it's my turn to meet my purposes, to make my meaning with this opportunity to be greeted and greet. And she turned it around so that it was something that made sense to her in the moment. So that's an example of transforming an activity so that it becomes something that fulfills you, that fills your soul. For me, I was transformed in that moment too. I all of a sudden had a different conception of what the greeting process up there might be. So both of us were transformed. Now, I'm the kind of person who usually needs more than one opportunity to learn a lesson. So the universe sent me another opportunity just last week to learn this lesson about how to start changing the greeting process so that it had that fluid, flexible, organic quality that is so beautiful down here. Last week, we had 8 people in our foyer. It's not a big foyer, let me tell you. There were 5 kids and 3 grown-ups. And I thought, how are we going to get through this? This is going to be a logistical, experience. So I said, who would like to be greeted first, and how would you like to be greeted? And Amma stepped up, and he said his choice was high five. He did not wait for an adult to come along and give him a high five. That kid ran through all of the 7 other people in the foyer, high-fiving each one of us. And I thought, thank you, universe. I sometimes need to hear the message more than once. So that's one of my goals, is to begin to think about how to rework this greeting time that we have. I think that foundational structure that we have was critical, but we have to begin to be able to move away from it when people feel the need or the desire to do that. So after we greet each other, we enter our sanctuary. Where am I in my slides here? Okay. And the children are invited to build our altar that will be the focus of our UU rituals for the day. This is our altar. And here is our supply center, full of the materials available for constructing the altar. It is our version of this mysterious cloth-covered closet that you all have back here, that for months and months I thought, what are those people doing and where are they going? I now get it. First, they select the fabric to cover the altar. Then we encourage them to put on the items that always go on the altar, including the lantern and the candle for our lighting the chalice ritual, and then the vessel full of water and the stones for our joys and sorrows ritual. And we also place a small basket of acorns on the altar, acknowledging the Nisanon. Then the children use their aesthetic sensibilities to decorate the altar. With obvious intentionality, they have created some uniquely detailed and beautiful altars over the past 8 months, suggesting to me that this ritual activity often leans towards the experience end of the continuum for them. Here's one of the altars that they created. They really have gotten into this, dual pieces of fabric thing, someone set that up. And here's another altar that they created with lots of stones and baskets. This has become a big piece, and the period of time that transpires, they spend a significant amount of time working on that altar. In the end, we end the time in our sanctuary with our own version of your weekly sermon. For us, it takes the form of a book that we read to the children. We recently culled through our extensive collection of books, keeping those that are most congruent with our new UU values. We also made some purchases of new books to update our collection. This is our bookshelf with all of our new books on it. This collection of books focuses especially on the UU value of pluralism, but it also touches on values such as justice, equity, generosity, and don't forget love. Often, we invite the children to vote for the book they want us to read. We present them with 2 books. They vote by putting a stone in front of the book that they prefer, after which they receive an I voted today sticker. So again, just as you all sometimes find yourselves voting down here in your sanctuary, we sometimes vote upstairs in our sanctuary too. When we finish with the routines and rituals in our sanctuary, we then proceed to our suite of rooms where we have opportunities to live our UU values. We walk out of the sanctuary, down a short hall, and this is the room we step into. I want to tell you that every time I step in that room, my breath is taken away just a little bit. And it is beautiful and functional, and the lion's share of the credit for that goes to Lindsay Dunkel, and I can't tell you what a gift she is. I want to share with you several events occurring in these rooms that transformed mere activities or materials into meaningful, purposeful, relational experiences for some of our children. First, just as you all have time to share food and socialize after the service, so do we. Typically, on weeks when I was upstairs, I prepared the snack for the children before they arrived. Then one day I noticed Lindsay put one child to work helping to prepare the snack for everyone. I noticed how focused this child was on the task, which I think was chopping up a cucumber. I wanted to make this sort of experience happen in a more systematic way in our after-service time. So I ordered plastic chopping and slicing instruments that can be used by very young children. Then I brought in strawberries and bananas each week for the children to chop, slice, and share with each other. The children's engagement with this activity was impressive from the start. Here's a picture of Laurel and Ruby sitting at this little table that we have that's kind of like a kitchen table, and they're chopping and slicing away. The fact that this activity was so engaging suggests that it was already partway toward the experience end of the continuum. Let me now share with you a moment when this routine activity of preparing food transformed briefly but fully into a meaningful, purposeful, relational experience. This is another Ruby and Corbin story. So Ruby really loves the chopping and the slicing and the dicing. And she was chopping and slicing away one day. And Corbin really loves making things happen in the town with trucks and other kinds of things. And he was on the floor doing all the work of the town. And this is pretty typical. Normally what I would do when Ruby finished chopping and slicing is recruit Corbin to come up and join us at the table so we could all have snack together. But on this day, Ruby got up on her knees, leaned over the table, looked down at Corbin, and in the most enticing voice ever said, "Corbin, we have strawberries." Now, this was a brief moment. I could have missed it if I'd been on the other side of the room, but I had never seen her or another child take responsibility for inviting in the others to participate in the sharing of food. And I thought, am I making too much of this? Or am I seeing Ruby stepping out of the food preparation mode and into the hospitality coordinator mode? Just a thought. Now, I decided to use this story in my presentation, even though it was so brief. I had doubts, did it really mean that? But last week, I got confirmation that that was exactly what's going on with Ruby. We had 4 kids up there last week. 3 of them were on the floor making the town run, and Ruby was sitting at the little table, kind of the kitchen table. We weren't chopping anything yet, but she went and got the silverware out. She took all the spoons out and put them next to each other, all the forks out and put them next to each other, all the knives out and put them next to each other. And I'm just watching to see where this is going. Then she got the plates, and the plates went to each spot. There was a little baby doll up on a high chair in one spot. And then she went and got cotton balls. I'm really not sure what they represented to her, but they were important because she arrayed them in the middle. She was creating a tablescape. And I finally said, so Ruby, what's going on here? She says, we're having a birthday party. And I said, whose birthday? And she pointed to the doll. And I said, oh, what's her name? She said, Violet. And I said, how old is she? 3. And I said, oh, great. We have this wonderful wooden birthday cake. We have birthday parties all the time upstairs. I just want you to know. Hardly a week goes by without a birthday party, but never with the kind of preparation that I saw going into this birthday party. So I just let her continue to set this thing up. And then she stood up and she turned around to the other children and she said, you're all invited to a birthday party. And Amma came over and, come on, this is supposed to work for me. There we go. Here is Ruby's tablescape. We're looking down on Ruby's head. Amma came over for the birthday party. Obviously, I participated in the birthday party. You can see the cake that everybody has and the baby there who's turning 3. That was confirmation to me that Ruby is in transformation and she's stepping into the hospitality mode more and more in her play. And I think if we can wait 15 years, we may have our hospitality coordinator there, okay? So just hang on, she's growing, all right? So finally, I want to share with you the finger knitting experience. We have a room we have designated specifically for our older children, and that's this room. In this room, there's a hangout table with cool stuff spread out on it. This cool stuff is meant to invite older children to engage informally with the materials, each other, and/or the grown-ups nearby. And I'm going to give you a picture of an older child engaging with the materials. There's Briar working with some yarn, and Briar again doing some art. For weeks, a skein of yarn was just sitting on the hangout table, waiting for somebody, anybody, to take an interest in it. One day, Sorrel walked into this room. Here's a picture of Sorrel, you might know her. She saw the yarn and the finger knitting experience commenced. Sorrel immediately said, "Oh, we can finger knit." I was standing there with Corey. I didn't know how to finger knit. And I turned to Corey and said, "Do you know how to finger knit?" And she said, "No." And I thought, oh, how are we going to be able, we don't have the competence to sort of make this happen for Sorrel. So I said, "Sorrel, we don't know how to finger knit." She says, "That's okay, I do." And so I said, "Well, will you teach us how to finger knit?" She said, "Of course." And she invited us to sit down. She cut off the lengths of yarn that we would each need to be able to finger knit. Then she said, "I need a piece of paper and something to write with." And I thought, okay, well, that was interesting. I got it for her. She wrote across the top of the paper, "How to finger knit." And then she wrote step 1. And then she taught us step 1, and she recorded how to do it. And she taught us step 2, and she recorded how to do it. She wanted to make sure that the next time we wanted to finger knit, if she wasn't there, we would have a record that might help us through the process. I watched Sorrel teach us how to finger knit with great pleasure. I taught people how to be teachers for almost 3 decades, and this girl's got what it takes if she decides that's what she wants to do with her life. She stayed on her feet while she was teaching. She monitored what we were doing. She recognized when we'd gotten off track before we knew. She came in and patiently corrected, helped us take out some stitches, and got us going again. And once we had it, Corey and I were finger knitting along, doing okay. That's when she sat down and got her yarn out, and she started finger knitting along with us. And we just became a group of 3 ladies sitting there finger knitting together and having conversations about our life. Watching her sense of accomplishment, the fact that she recognized her own expertise and the joy that she took in being able to share that with us, to me, that's what Dewey most meant about an educational experience. I was also reminded, I had a conversation maybe a month or 2 ago, I think it was with Gail Johnson Vaughn, and she told me about a quilting group that she first joined when she came to UUCM, and how meaningful that was for her, what a great way it was to get to know other people, and she still had such fond memories of it. And I thought, well, we have a finger knitting group. And then I realized there are 2 other children. I believe that Briar knows how to finger knit. I've seen her finger knitting. And there was a boy who came once. He hasn't come back, but his name was Micah. I've got this vision of getting a bunch of kids together who like to finger knit and creating this finger knitting group and getting it happening up there on Sundays. But I just tell you that to let you see how parallel our lives are between upstairs and downstairs. I have 3 goals that I like to keep in mind, 3 things I'm trying to make happen upstairs for the kids that I don't want to lose sight of. One is I want to introduce them to our UU values in both conceptual and experiential ways. And I think that's happening pretty regularly. The second is I want them to participate in the rituals, roles, and responsibilities, the behaviors that are the glue that hold this community together. And then the third thing, and I think most importantly, is I want them to experience what it feels like to be an actually engaged participant in this community that we call UUCM. This one is the most important for me. I want them to know, that's what keeps me coming back, is what it feels like to walk into this building. That's why I keep coming back, and I want them to have similar kinds of experiences. So as Dewey, I think I'm responsible for this. Just wanted to prove that we actually did finger knit, okay? So it actually did occur. As Dewey would be quick to remind us, this process of making education life itself ultimately should lead to a blurring of the lines between upstairs and downstairs, as well as the lines between inside and outside our UUCM building. Education does not only happen in spaces specifically designated for it. Because education is life itself, it happens anywhere and everywhere. With this principle in mind, we expect our program to continue evolving. We want to invite more adults upstairs and send more children downstairs so that children and adults can share their interests, energy, and perspectives. We also want to encourage our children to carry what they are learning about UU rituals, values, and ways of relating to each other out into their own worlds, at home, at school, in their neighborhoods. Last year, we conceptualized this program, experimented with versions of it, made changes based on how children responded, and explored new ways to use some of the spaces upstairs. Today, we are proud of what we have to offer, so the time has come to shift our priorities to recruiting more children. Toward that end, we have 2 special events planned for September. I have a flyer that we're going to ask you to get after the service, and these 2 events will be more fully explained on that flyer, but let me briefly tell you here about what those events are. One, on September 8th, National Grandparents' Day, we are going to have a Bring Your Grandkids to Church Day. And we're hoping not only to get children from within the UUCM community to come. But I've noticed that this Nevada County community kind of skews towards the older end of the demographic. And I thought, well, you know, if we're having a hard time finding young families, maybe we ought to work from our strengths. Let's come in from the grandparent point of view and see if we can't find some kids that way. So bring your grandkids to Church Day. We're going to hope to recruit both from within our community and outside from the Nevada County community. And then the next week, on September 15th, we're going to have a Kids Connection open house. It's going to be after the service. And again, we're hoping to get all of the kids together who have been coming regularly so that they can better know each other. And they're grown-ups too. But we're also hoping maybe to invite new people in. So this flyer explains these two events more fully. We are asking you to pick up one copy of this flyer and to get it out into the larger Nevada County community. Maybe post it on a bulletin board at some place that you frequent. Or maybe share it with a family you know who has young children. Growing our Kids Connection program is an upstairs-downstairs obligation, and we are asking for your support in this effort. I want to end with a personal anecdote. I had a colleague, Mark, at one of the universities where I worked, whose office door was plastered with cartoons, postcards, bumper stickers, vacation photos, all of it. One day I stopped by Mark's door to see if he had any new postings, and I saw WWDD in large 3-inch letters. Obviously, I knew about the WWJD meme, what would Jesus do? But I had never heard of WWDD, so I went in search of Mark to find out about this WWDD. Hey, Mark, WWDD, what's that? He said, oh, what would Dewey do? Of course, what would Dewey do? This WWDD meme sums up so succinctly the reverence that we progressive educators have for John Dewey. I can't help but think if we had the opportunity to share our evolving, somewhat experimental Kids Connection program with him, Dewey would be most encouraging and supportive of our efforts.
Cheryl, thank you so much for your dedication, creativity, and commitment to the upstairs. Our offering each Sunday is a gift. This morning it will be received with warm gratitude and contribute to the workings of our church, our community, and our children. Our offering will also sustain the work of Sarah Streams Institute, a local watershed monitoring organization that promotes scientific knowledge and stewardship of local watersheds through research, restoration, education, and community service. Please see the slide for additional ways to give, and ushers, will you come up? Thank you for your generosity, your giving, and support of our UUC community and of Sarah Streams Institute. We dedicate these offerings to strengthening the connections between the young and the old here at UUCM, and the connections gained from having good watersheds in our community. It is in giving that we receive.
I sometimes say when the children go to Kids Connection that they get to go and we don't. And now you know why, right? And it turns out you do get to go, be part of that, right? So Cheryl, thank you so much for not only the shepherding, but also the sharing today of what you see and feel and hear and your enthusiasm. Thank you to you parents and grandparents for nurturing such fabulous children, really amazing children in the world. Thank you, Carol, for serving as our worship associate today, Toby for the music as always, Briar for reading. We'll thank Briar later as we see, Phil for reading today also, Andy and Cypress for operating the AV. No small task, thank you so much. Eileen for being our chat host. Shanti, I love the cattails. Thanks for the beautiful altar, that exuberant reminder of Michigan for me, actually. Katz and Laura, thank you so much for greeting so beautifully. To our refreshment people, speaking of hospitality coordinators and hospitality folks, Susan and Elizabeth and Lynn and Lindsay and Corey are up with our young ones today at Kids Connection, doing just what we heard about. The book group meets today after the service. Check out the book group and future books. The Women's Circle is actually going to go to the Wild Eyed Pub to hear Tom and Kate and Mark play. Tom, it's great to see you. It's great to have you here for this bit. Looking forward. Circle lunch potlucks are coming up, thanks to Laura. There are a couple dates you can sign up for. Hospitality House donations. There's a great big container in the back room. Each month they're kind of listing what are the things they're looking for now. So take a quick peek and feel free to bring some of those things. And as always, check out the website for all kinds of stuffs going on. And consider signing up for the newsletter. We thought we would close with this song that we use to sing our young ones on their way to Kids Connection each week, with this idea of how we how we cultivate this in our young people, right, through the experiences, but also in ourselves and each other. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit and to sing with you in mind and the people around you. whatever our age, we light this chalice because we are Unitarian Universalists. At our best, and all ages together, we help each other be the church of the open mind, not just for our sakes, but for the sake of the world. At our best, our choice to be together, really together, even when it's hard and inconvenient, teaches us moment by moment to be the church of the loving heart, within and beyond these walls. And remembering that we are never entirely alone or separate. We are, when we're centered in love, the church of the helping hands. Together we care for our earth and do what we can to bring peace and justice into the world. This move, by the way, was an innovation by the children upstairs, this last one. May we ever more and more be so. So may it be. I invite us to remind each other that we are connected, that we carry so much with us when we go. In these words we share with each other, together let us carry the flame of peace and love until we meet again. And as Carol extinguishes the chalice, I'll invite us to refreshments after the service, maybe the book club, and next week, which is the weekend of the camp out, Scared of Fire or Sacred Fire with Beth Carroll. Looking forward. We'll see you next week.